Good evening. My name is Bob Sandman, and I'm the A.L.E.R.T Advisory Board Chairman. And I'd like to welcome you all in joining in our first and hopefully last A.L.E.R.T Social Distancing Ball. As I'm sure you can understand, we were not able to hold the 42nd A.L.E.R.T banquet at the fairgrounds this year. And although we tried our best to reschedule that banquet, we were not able to do so. So instead, we've opted for this version of having a virtual ball where we can still celebrate this fantastic program known as A.L.E.R.T. Up next is an important message from the CEO of Kalispell Regional Healthcare, Dr. Craig Lambrecht. But before we do that, we'd like to honor America, all of our healthcare workers, first responders, and those on the front lines keeping us alive and safe with our national anthem.
My name is Craig Lambrecht. I'm the President and CEO of Kalispell Regional Health System. I'm going to tell you, I could not be prouder than to work with people like Bob and our flight team of A.L.E.R.T and the employees who have kept this valley safe during this crazy COVID time. And you know, when you look back to 1975, when this air medical program started, it was a bunch of people in the trenches who were trying to figure out how to keep each other safe and take care of each other. And when a bunch of loggers get together and they did it, and we've got this program, and you look at what we've got with COVID, and you look at where we have stood up, it's an amazing story, and it's a legacy story of what this organization is about. I'm also going to tell you that Mr. Bob Sandman is the biggest rock star in the Valley, and you wouldn't know this, but Mr. Sandman stood up a unified command at our request. Thought he was a little crazy, but that man saved the High Line, and his team saved the High Line. And that is a story that bodes very well for this aircraft, because when you got a can-do attitude, and I will sacrifice, and I will take care of people, it resonates. And that's what Bob did, that's what A.L.E.R.T does, and that's what we do every day. So super proud to be proud of what A.L.E.R.T stands for in this air medical program, and super proud for what you folks have done to support us, because we're not making money most days doing this. We're doing the right thing, and with your help, we offer a program that takes us 10, 20 years to the future. So please keep supporting us, because we support you. We've demonstrated that with COVID. We've demonstrated this with an outstanding flight team. We've demonstrated that with Bob Sandman taking care of the High Line, coming out of retirement. And we do those things, life's good. So stay with us, support us. We're proud of you, and I'm proud of this organization. Thanks.
Earlier this year, the A.L.E.R.T program lost one of its founding fathers, a man who was so integral in starting the A.L.E.R.T program, Dr. Jack Davis. Jack was one of the key players in getting the A.L.E.R.T program started. Back in 1975, a logger was seriously injured in an accident in a rural area near the Hungry Horse Reservoir. He was rescued by a nearby private helicopter. However, no medical crew was able to assist, and the man died en route to the hospital. Following that tragedy, Dr. Davis desperately worked with the pilot who rescued that logger, emergency officials, hospital employees, and the logging community to find a solution. Collaboratively, They built the second hospital-based helicopter advanced life support system in the nation. Jack went on to serve as medical director for A.L.E.R.T for 17 years, and following his retirement, served on the A.L.E.R.T board for more than a decade. He practiced medicine for 35 years at KRH, and in his work led to the development of Kalispell Regional's cardiology program. Countless lives have been saved thanks to the work of Dr. Jack Davis. He will be sorely missed by all of those who have had the privilege of knowing him. Please join me now in taking a moment of silence in honor of Dr. Jack Davis. Next up, we have Tegan Vine. He's president of the Kalispell Regional Healthcare Foundation. He is here to recognize and show our support from the A.L.E.R.T program for all of our fantastic sponsors who we could not achieve our objectives without.
Well, thank you, everybody. It's my honor on behalf of the Kalispell Regional Healthcare Foundation and the A.L.E.R.T Advisory Board and this wonderful A.L.E.R.T crew to say thank you to all of you for your continued investment in this year's A.L.E.R.T Social Distancing Ball. We've been so humbled to see almost everyone continue their support for this year's transformation to this virtual event. To all of our ticket holders, we say thank you. Thank you for your donation this year in lieu of the event ticket. We really appreciate your continued support to the over 300 ticket purchasers for this year's virtual event. And to the incredible sponsors who stuck with us for our change of plans, and your support of this event is critical to the future success of the A.L.E.R.T program. To our presenting sponsors at that Mount Cleveland level, the Two Bear Air and Candy Bar Ranch sponsors, we give a big thank you to all of your support for the many years that you've been with us in supporting the A.L.E.R.T program. Mike and Jamie Gogan and Candy and Eddie DeBartolone family, thank you for your pinnacle support of this year's event. To our Kintla Peak sponsors, our KRMC volunteers that we cherish so much, as well as Anderson Masonry, we thank you for your substantial investment in this year's event. To our Swan Peak sponsors, KM Management, Kalispell Auto Group, Raymond James Financial, Schellinger Construction, Diamond Plumbing and Heating, and Swank Enterprises. Thank you all for your generous support of this year's social distancing ball. And finally, to our Mount Anita sponsors, we appreciate all your continued backing of the A.L.E.R.T program as well. Jim Oliverson, Dr. Rod and Heidi Brandt, Whitefish Credit Union, Dr. William Bohm, Jordal and Slater, Glacier Bank, Valley Glass, Ron Jaden, HKS Architects, Glacier Sotheby's Real Estate, NextGen, First Interstate Bank, Montana Timber Legacy Foundation and Montana Logging Association, as well as J2 Business Products and the Daily Interlake. Thanks to all of our sponsors for sticking with us for this year's A.L.E.R.T Social Distancing Ball. Thank you.
Thanks, Tegan, and we hope that you support all of our fantastic sponsors. Next up, Tegan Vine is also going to present the Triple Divide Award. Normally at our banquet, we give out 2 awards, the Triple Divide Award and the Clyde Smith Award. But since we are unable to meet in person with all of our fantastic community friends, we felt like we will hold off and do the Clyde Smith Award next year at our 43rd annual banquet when we can meet in person. But we also feel it's incredibly important to recognize somebody from the A.L.E.R.T program, like we do every year, who has gone above and beyond the duty for our A.L.E.R.T program. So again, here's Tegan Vine to present this year's Triple Divide Award winner.
Today it is my honor to present the Triple Divide Award to an outstanding member of the A.L.E.R.T crew. Triple Divide Peak has the distinction of a peak in Glacier National Park with its waters running to the Atlantic, the Arctic, and the Pacific Oceans, much like our A.L.E.R.T program that heads in all directions, supporting those in our region. The Triple Divide Award is a crew-selected recognition of a member of our A.L.E.R.T crew for their outstanding service to community, team, and our patients. This award was made possible by the generous donation of Paul and Muffin Valley from the Scott Valley Soldiers Memorial Fund to honor our frontline leaders and heroes. I'd like to read to you some selections from some of the comments made by the A.L.E.R.T crew members about this year's recipient. This year's Triple Divide Award recipient. Our awardee this year has been a member of our team for nearly 10 years. During this time, he has strengthened the program immeasurably through a steadfast commitment to professional standards, growth, and a selfless desire to please others. As a leader both inside and outside the cockpit, he is authentic in his concerns for both patient and crew, devoting considerable hours of personal time and resources to the program. To ensure complete duty coverage, as well as work-life balance amongst his team, he often completes difficult-to-fill overtime and undesirable holiday shifts. The non-flying portion of his job is filled with paperwork, research, training, program development, and a never-ending quest for systematic improvements. His technical acumen and computer skills are consistently relied upon by fellow pilots through the use of numerous webcams he has personally funded and installed throughout the region. These cameras allow A.L.E.R.T pilots the ability to acquire real-time visual data on flying conditions as well as potential runway hazards, thereby improving both the efficiency and overall safety of our program. As an instructor, our awardee trains both medical crew members and pilots. The high standards he demands of himself and others trickles down and permeates the entire program in a positive manner. He invests large amounts of time and energy into training others, focusing his instruction on quality, relevance, and the environment in which we operate. He is highly trusted and admired for his piloting skills, in-depth knowledge of aircraft systems, FAA regulations, and KRH and A.L.E.R.T policy. Perhaps more importantly, though, is his willingness to share his expertise with his fellow teammates. When asked to comment on our recipient and his self-described tendency to talk a lot, a fellow pilot remarked, "If he's talking, it's worth listening because you're going to learn something." Finally, our awardee this year has been described as a tireless ambassador for the A.L.E.R.T program. He has developed and distributed outreach and marketing materials throughout the region and is a consistent champion for the entire program, fostering healthy business relationships while always putting the needs of others ahead of his own. Our 2020 Triple Divide awardee this year is Greg Masters, Chief Pilot, Fixed Wing. His selfless service, professionalism, dedication of excellence, and devotion to duty are in keeping with the finest traditions of the A.L.E.R.T program and reflect great credit upon himself and the entire Kalispell Regional Healthcare family. Please join me in congratulating this year's awardee for the Triple Divide Award, and helping me present the award is Director of Operations Chris Miller, as we present this year's award to Greg Masters, Chief Pilot, A.L.E.R.T Fixed Wing Program. And then there's a patch for your jumpsuit. Thank you, Greg, for your selfless service to the program.
I'm humbled. Words aren't enough. Thank you very much. It's been an honor. Thank you.
Thanks, Greg.
Congratulations, Greg Masters. That's fantastic. Next up, we have Dr. Johnson, who is the A.L.E.R.T Medical Director, to present this year's case study.
Hello, and thank you for joining us today. My name is Todd Johnson. I am the medical director for A.L.E.R.T. I'm very proud to be a part of the A.L.E.R.T team with their storied history and amazing crew that they have currently. We will be talking about the rescue that was selected to show you guys this year. It was a bear attack victim. This was back in November of 2018. Multiple people were involved with this rescue, including A.L.E.R.T, but such as Two Bear Air Rescue, Montana Fish and Wildlife. And for a little context, this is one of 36 bear attacks that A.L.E.R.T has been involved in. On behalf of our team, I thank you, and here's the video.
Thank you, Mark. We have an update now on an incredible story of survival that we told you about when a hunter stumbled onto a grizzly bear.
Yeah, so we got a pretty early start. We headed out on the ATV, drove in basically in the dark, headlamps, parked the ATV. We split up. I mean, I don't know, that's just kind of always what I've done hunting. It was just basically no warning. All of a sudden, like, I hear some commotion and I look over, and about 15 yards away, or what felt like 2 feet, I suddenly just see this grizzly bear running at me. Just, like instinctively, like swung out my rifle, but in those moments, like while the rifle was coming up, in my mind, I was like, you're not getting your finger in the trigger guard and you're not getting the safety off. Like, just shove this thing between you and the bear, because this is gonna happen no matter what you do. I was backpedaling to kind of fight or flight, and to my body, hey, let's get out of here. And knocked me back, grabbed my arm here, kind of shook it around. Definitely heard the breaking of my bones in my arm. So the bear grabbed me by the leg here, kind of clamped down and was shaking me around with no effort whatsoever. I mean, when people say shaking like a rag doll, like, and then, but at the same time, it also, like, it pulled my leg hard enough that I knew in my mind, like, your leg's not supposed to stretch that far where your knee is. And then he just dropped my foot and ran off. And I just keep yelling for Dan. And we did a little assessment, kind of looked at things, took gloves off just to make sure I wasn't like profusely bleeding. And couldn't find anything horribly wrong. But we gave my wife, Anaka, a call.
Clearly something had gone wrong because his voice was like shaking and he was terrified. Sounded like very distraught.
I talked to Anaka and I'm like, I'm not 100% sure, but like, we're gonna, hold up my arm, lash up my arm, and like, we're gonna try to get out of here. Like, we're not that far from the ATV, and we'll just meet you at the gate that we had gone through, and then you'll take me to the hospital. It was kind of like, I'm gonna get out of here. Like, I feel like this is gonna be okay. Like Dan's kind of bracing me, and I'm kind of taking a step, not really realizing how bad my knee was, and then put some weight on it, and it literally just went out to the side 90 degrees. At that point, I basically just collapsed back into the ground.
From the get-go, I mean, when you're called out for a bear attack, it automatically raises some red flags just because it can be a pretty dynamic incident, and backcountry incidents can be pretty variable to begin with, and then you add the element of large predator, and it just reminds you that you are not at the top of the food chain.
Then I didn't know what to do. I was kind of at a loss because like, oh, I'm here at home, like what do I do? So I drove to the locked gate at the Forest Service Road and just kind of waited, and I was like, well, maybe they'll stage with an ambulance here. Like, I didn't know. I just kept looking up, like waiting for A.L.E.R.T to fly over because I just wanted them to get to him so badly and make sure he was okay.
I circled the area for quite a while looking for our victim, looking for any signs of people. It's heavily wooded. And then I believe we actually saw his partner first, who had made his way to a clearing. So then it became a challenge to find a spot to land.
Like I said, as soon as I saw A.L.E.R.T fly over, it's like, I know exactly what's happening. I'm good, I'm safe, I'm alive.
I mean, it's one thing to hike in there with just a rifle and a pack. It's another thing to take a bunch of complex ALS gear, trauma stuff. I mean, we had to be fully prepared for an airway crisis, cardiovascular crisis, unstable cervical spine. So we had to bring more than what he ended up needing, fortunately. And he was in pretty harsh terrain by the time we got to him. I mean, there was little ridges and swales, and there's alders, and there's thick stuff, there's blowdowns. And so getting all of our equipment to that and then coming up with a plan to get him out while maintaining our safety margin. In some places we had maybe 50 to 100 feet of visibility. A bear can run 35, they can sprint at 35 miles an hour. That's 50 feet per second, which means if we had one charge from out of nowhere, we'd have a second or less to respond to it. So that by itself is, it adds one more element to what we're trying to do.
And he was laying in the snow on his backpack, and you could see some blood in the snow around him, and he had injuries on both hands and on his, I believe it was his left leg.
He just looked pale and kind of like, not like my strong, like capable husband, which was, hard to see.
All the wounds that he had obviously were defensive. So it looked like he'd put up a fight. I mean, hand wounds and then keeping his body oriented, and you get his legs there. It would have been pretty easy for a bear to they'll spin you around and they'll get on top of you. But somehow he was able to fight off this bear. I haven't used that much just trauma and bandaging equipment in quite a while. Like we used everything we had.
So when I saw him walk through the door, the first thing that I remember was he was sitting up,
smiling, saying hi to everybody, like, hey, kind of, how's it going, sort of a thing. And so I was caught off guard a little bit by that, just by how well he looked. But then we kind of dug in a little bit deeper and saw, the injuries that he had, and he was handling it remarkably well. So
although a lot of wounds look very small and superficial, just puncture wounds, the amount of damage that the bear does is pretty profound, deep. And so he had open fractures of his right forearm, wrist, and thumb. Those were all opened. He had a nerve injury on that side as well. And then his left knee had a multi-ligamentous knee injury, which was treated later by Dr. Benjamin Ward. And so we, again, washed out those wounds, explored it, fixed his fibula fracture, his ankle dislocation. And then that wound was contaminated enough we had to come back 48 hours later to rewash out that wound. So
if A.L.E.R.T hadn't been there, if Two-Air hadn't been able to hoist him, that could have been multiple hours, and his injuries could have been worse, and worse as a result of a prolonged delay in care.
So when I went into emergency medicine, I always thought that it would be the coolest specialty to go into, because you do a little bit of everything. And if you were gonna have somebody, around that you would think would be a helpful person, it would be like an E.R. doc, right? Working with these guys for the past few months, I've realized that you don't want, if you need somebody around who can help you, you don't want an E.R. doc, you want an A.L.E.R.T flight medic, or you want an A.L.E.R.T flight nurse. These guys can handle anything, they go anywhere, they can do anything, and they're like the good guys coming to the rescue. They really are. It is such a comfort knowing that they're around and that they're available, and can come rescue you. They save the day, that's what they do. They're really good, so.
Now it's the moment we've all been waiting for, our raffle. As you know, normally we raffle off cash prizes at our A.L.E.R.T banquet. But this year, because of the pandemic, we felt it was also important to give back to the community, because you have always given to us. So this year we bought a number of gift certificates at local businesses, and in addition to raffling off cash prizes, we also raffled off gift certificates at these businesses. You can find out if you won one of those gift certificates by looking at the Kalispell Regional Healthcare website, looking for the A.L.E.R.T link. You will receive your gift certificate if you won one in the mail. And now here's Lori Alsbury and Jeannie Lucky to raffle off our cash prizes.
So here we are for the grand drawing for the A.L.E.R.T Social Distancing Ball. And we're gonna start with the first grand prize drawing, well, the early bird drawing. So if you bought your ticket before March 27th of this year, you're eligible for our early bird drawing. So Lori, here we go.
Hey, certainly. I believe we have, is it?
KM Management.
KM Management, Walter Kuhn.
Walter Kuhn.
Congratulations on the early bird drawing.
Congratulations, such a deal.
Now we're going to draw for the grand prize, but we're not going to announce it. We're going to draw it so everyone's in the drawing.
So I'll
Has a
spin for the
chance.
grand prize. There you go.
Okay, and then we have 3 second prizes that we'll draw first. So go ahead.
So we're going to spin again.
I'll hold the grand prize.
And we're going to draw 3 out for the second place finishers.
And these are $2,000 prizes.
$2,000 each.
$2,000 each.
Kalispell Toyota.
Kalispell Toyota,
Kalispell
also
Toyota,
one of our
alright.
sponsors.
Thank you.
And Mark Ertman.
Muffin and Paul Valley.
The Valleys, congratulations.
Sponsors of our Triple Divide Award. Thank you, Valleys.
All right.
And Trail West Bank.
Trails West Bank.
Awesome.
How about
Thank
it?
you, Trail West.
All right.
That's awesome. All right, and the grand
Are we ready?
prize.
And the grand prize goes to,
Two Bear Air, Mike and Jamie. Thank
oh,
you
for
very
heaven's
much.
sake.
Also,
Two
one of our
Bear Air.
presenting sponsors this year. Thanks, Mike and Jamie and Two Bear Air.
Congratulations.
Congratulations,
All right.
everybody. Please go online and check out our other winners from the gift certificate drawings that will be happening shortly.
Again, on behalf of the A.L.E.R.T program, I'd like to thank all of you for joining in for our A.L.E.R.T Social Distancing Ball. We can't wait to see you in person next year on April 24th at the fairgrounds for our 43rd A.L.E.R.T banquet. Thank you, God bless you, and good night.